Hello, how are you doing? I am here to talk to you today about how to prepare for a meeting with a prospective bookkeeping client, which I know can be really daunting, especially if it's one of the first prospects you've had. I'm just making sure I've gone live everywhere, which is always the thing that starts it all off. Yeah, good evening. Hope you're really well. I am on the first day of the summer holidays, and do you know what's gone all right, actually? Got my kids into swimming lessons. We've been working around kids that are here, a bit more structured the other days of the week, but Mondays for us is going to be a kind of at-home day. And yeah, it's been good. So I hope everything's going well for everyone else who's working through the summer holidays at the moment. Right, let's get on with it. So you have booked in a call, a discovery call with a prospective bookkeeping client, and you are preparing for it. What do you need to think about? When I was researching, speaking about this, I was thinking about what kind of questions might come up for you and how can you prepare, a little bit like how you would prepare if you're going into a job interview. But there's one thing I really need you to know about this before we go any further, which I'm going to share with you. But before I do that, I just want to remind you that on Mondays, and it's Monday right now, on Mondays at 8 o'clock, Joe and I have a masterclass, which is free to register for. Come along. We're going to be talking about pricing tonight, and you can register for free by going to bookkeeperssupport.com. That link should take you there, and there's a registration form. If you can't find it, look in the bio section or the featured section wherever you're watching this video, and you'll be able to register. Super simple, and you'll be able to hear about other masterclasses that are coming up as well. We'd love to see you there. Okay, so let's get ready for that first prospect call. What do we need to know going into that call? I think the first thing to say here is that the common mistake, particularly when you are a new bookkeeper, and this is maybe one of your first discovery calls, is to think about it like a job interview, right? Like you've probably done years of practice for job interview. It's probably something that you dread every time. I can remember being prepped by recruiters who said, like, the thing you really need to know how to do is do this. They used to call it a STAR model. I don't know if anyone's come across that lately. And it was like a situation, a task, an action, a result. And I was trying to think of all these like scenarios where I'd overcome challenges and shown my leadership skills and all that kind of stuff. Like, and the stress of that is real. And I think that because of that, and when we go into self-employment from being employed, we go in thinking, I need to learn how to sell myself to these people, and I need to be like very professional. I need to be ready. I need to know all the answers to these questions about why I'm the right person. But actually, let's just take this back a step. When you're going to speak to a bookkeeping prospect, it's not an interview. The last thing you want to do is go into that and represent the equivalent of an employee. This is a complete power shift. So when I said at the beginning, there's something that you need to know, the thing you need to know here is that you have the answer to the problem that your client has, and you are the solution. You just need to make sure that you're pointing out the problem so it's really, really clear to them, because they might not know yet. And then you need to show them that you're the solution to that problem. So this is a power shift, potentially. It's potentially a different way of going into something. And it's not an interview, it's a conversation, and it's a conversation where you are the equal to the person who you are meeting, not where you're going in as a lesser than person, because you also are a business owner. But what sort of things could come up in those conversations? I thought it would be useful to talk about some of those, so that if you have this kind of thing coming up for you soon, you can think about it differently. So I think knowing what to expect is going to help a lot, particularly if you're carrying anxiety around getting ready for this kind of meeting. And because you are going to take the control of the conversation, you get to set the boundaries for this. So in terms of expectations, you get to decide what the expectations are, and that is really in your favor. So yes, you might be going in to meet them in their office, and that's obviously a really good, healthy thing to do in terms of due diligence and understanding who the client is, and really seeing like their place of work and meeting all the people that you need to see and kind of verify. But you are leading, and it's okay for you to say, the way we need to run this meeting, so I can understand enough about you in your business and what you do, is for you to set the expectations of how long you need for that meeting, who you need to be there in the meeting, what the client needs to bring to the meeting, or even better, you actually set up the meeting and arrange it in your diary rather than saying, when are you free? If you're saying, this is when I'm free, let's try and get it in the diary, then that's instantly going to be a different dynamic to that meeting. So it's not going to be about a sort of technical questions. Like, they're not bringing you in there to interview you. So if you've worked in a finance role where you have been trying to like prep for not being caught out, but been prepped for what the kind of questions are, or what, you know, what's new in the world of whatever in finance. I can remember as an accountant, I was always thinking about what's the latest like regulatory, like IFRS, something that's happened and changing in the pensions world or something, you know, like what's coming up. You don't need to think about that. You know about what's happening in the bookkeeping world. You don't need to suddenly swat up. You're already going to know it. That client might have a different piece of software that you need to learn, but it's really reasonable to think that you're not going to know everything instantly. And actually, if you're going to meet the client and you've told them to come along with their laptop, they can show you. They can show you around that thing, that one thing that you're not familiar with, but in the sort of scope of all the other pieces of software and the tools that you've used every day already. So don't worry about that. Don't feel like you need to prepare for technical questions. The main thing to do is go in there and say, this is how I deliver this service. This is what I need to know from you. Ask them loads of questions. And then it comes down to chemistry and whether you have the capacity and they trust that you know what you're doing enough to be able to deliver the work that they need. And then it becomes a conversation about pricing and when they want to get started, whether there's any issues that you need to be aware of or things that need to be tidied up to move on. So this is not an interview. This is about you going in and showing that you understand them and really that you're a nice, decent human being and that you can get along. I think it really helps if you've got other examples of other businesses like theirs that you can talk about, because it's quite useful to be able to say, oh, okay, yeah, I've come across that before. I've worked with another client who had that problem, or I've worked with another client that uses that piece of software, and that's how we connect that with this tool that we're going to be using. But just remember that you're in control. You're going to choose how this works. The client might have some sort of requirements, like they might be using a particular piece of software, but it's still okay for you to say, actually, in my experience, because remember, you are the experienced expert here coming to the conversation, you're the finance person and they're not. In my experience, this works. And I can see that these are the challenges you've got. And I know from experience, because I've done this before, that if we move you over to use this is going to be more seamless for you, it's going to be more efficient, or it's going to take less time, or it's going to give you better information. And the only way you can give them those kind of insights is when you've asked them lots and lots of questions about their business. So how to prepare for a meeting with a prospective client? Take control as much as you can. You decide, when's the meeting going to happen? Where's the meeting going to happen? How long is it going to be for? Talk to the client about how to prepare. So they're the person preparing for the meeting rather than you preparing for the meeting. And find out about them, do a bit of homework, look them up online, but then go into that conversation knowing a bit about what they do and what that looks like, so you can ask the right questions to understand their business. And basically what you need to do is everything you're seeing as the customer or the person viewing them on the internet or in their shop or wherever you've seen them, you just need to understand how the finances work behind it, because then you can ask, well, how does that happen? How does that information get from there to there? And you're showing that you're asking expert questions, and then you can talk to the client about what their problems are and present to them how you're going to solve them. Hopefully, if you're preparing for a meeting with a prospective client, that helps you feel much better about it. Don't forget to register for our Monday masterclass. Go to bookkeepersupport.com to register for that, and you'll hear about other events that are coming up as well. And have a great day. Take care. Bye.